Hey, what's up? It's Ace. I'm gonna talk to you about Appleseed.
Appleseed.
Yeah, I recall the first time I bumped heads with my head led to a dead bargain. A thanks for nothing, low life, and a starter beg my pardon.
The meaning and origin of the title Appleseed, I don't fucking know. This was 1998 or 9. Drawing a blank. The Tugboat Complex series, that's like the first time I did a series. It might be the last time I did a series of songs too. I don't know. I was just young and trying shit, and once I did the first one, the second one, I think it's the same amount of bars and the same, I think the breaks and the beat are the same in the same places. You know, in my head, I can't even imagine what it sounds like on Appleseed, that song. I'm closing my eyes even. Yeah, I don't know. I often spoke about water and boats, and that is what led to the name Float, which Tony had thought of for the next record. But I grew up on the water on the East Coast, so maybe there. I do like a good lake. I like a good river. Ocean, not as much, but I do enjoy water. Looking at it. I don't really want to go in it. I like to be near it. If I had a single at the time, I feel like it would have been Dry Spell, only because that is one of the couple songs on there that I can remember. Yeah, probably Dry Spell, maybe 1,000 Deaths. Dose One, I think, just started calling me at one point early. We were both just young and kind of getting on it around the same time, and that was a song that we made together when he had passed through New York one time in the late 90s. Shout out Dose One for sure. Omega One, aka Owen, my friend Owen, we went to college together and met there at an art school in Boston. Right around that time, it was 94 to 98, and right around that time I had gotten an ASR 10, and Blockhead had gotten an ASR 10, and then Owen got an ASR 10, and yeah, he was dope. He made beats for a while. I'm not sure if he's still making beats, but he is a great illustrator. He does a lot of Blockhead's album covers. He did the Labor Days album cover. Yeah, that's an old friend of mine, and he just happened to also know Blockhead and those guys just from growing up in New York. So we're all sort of connected. And he was originally, when I started doing shows, he was one of, if not my actual first DJ. He was much more of a vinyl head than me or Blockhead. He had like a sick vinyl collection with good records, you know. Me and Tones were more like buying shit and trying to spin it into gold or something. But Omega had legitimately dope records, and his shit was always fly. As far as the production and equipment setup, all the beats were made on ASR 10s. I think I did most of the beats, and then Blockhead did one and Omega did one. And we all used ASR 10s. This was also, I had just bought a Roland VS880 digital 8-track, which was, it was the first time I could record digitally at home, which was, you know, massive for me. That, and I recorded Float on that, and I think I recorded Labor Days on that. That was a cool little machine at the time. Way too difficult to use for what it actually did, but still loved it. I actually plugged it in. I found it later when I moved to California, and at some point I found it, and I said, oh, I wonder if there's any weird old stuff on this machine. And I plugged it in and I turned it on, and smoke came out of it, and it immediately just short-circuited, and anything that was on the hard drive there is fried. But yeah, we were just recording beats directly from the ASR-10 to 2 tracks on the 880. So that left six tracks for vocals or whatever, scratching or what have you. No real mix in between. No real mix after. So Appleseed, we made CDs, just kind of duped them ourselves. When I say ourselves, I mean myself. And I had Tony helping to sell them at certain independent rap distributors at the time. And I just remember the first night that I had them was a Doom show at Brownies. I lived right over Brownies. And I just know that, I just remember that because of that. I was sitting and cutting. I said, I'll cut 10 covers out and dupe 10 CDs and see if I could sell them at the show. Went down, peeped Doom. It was amazing. Sold a few CDs. And then soon after that, we made them available. Just kind of, Tony would handle anyone who wanted them online, just kind of emailing back and forth cash and, basically sending cash through the mail, I think, often, or a check. And eventually we got to a place where they were moving too fast for him and I to handle, which wasn't fast at all. We were just annoyed by it. So I kind of, instead of duping them myself, I dropped off and got, 100 made at a time or something like that, which was like mass production to us. I think we ended up moving a couple thousand that way. I just remember once, I think we broke 2,000 and I was like, we can stop. And then it was at a print for a long time after that. How did I connect with Neil for artwork help? Neil lived with me. I lived with my friend Michael and Neil at the time in this apartment. Those were 2 of my roommates, and they sort of tolerated me rapping in my bedroom as much as they could. And he, I didn't really know how to do any sort of layout or really use a computer at that point. So Neil was the man. I was probably just hyped. I was just hyped on everything going on. The underground rap scene in New York at that time was very fly to me. We were fans, to be honest, because I'm sort of on the second wave of what I would consider the second wave of that movement, and we were just fans of the cats older than us doing it. So we'd go home and make songs. I mean, some of the stuff, it started, we would make 4-track songs all the time. Some of them were funny, some of them were more serious, but I don't know. I just started taking it more serious than my friends as far as rhyming was concerned. You start doing open mics, or every now and then you just sort of show, you rap a couple times and then people ask, hey, you got something, do you have stuff recorded? And I didn't think anything about a record deal. No, I'm also very shy in that manner, so I wouldn't have pursued it probably, In fact, I was pursued early on, and I sort of, I sort of shoot away an offer that, it wasn't an offer, I shoot away a meeting that could have led to something that I maybe shouldn't have, or that people said I was crazy for at the time, because I just wanted to, it's too much, I just want to do it. I just want to do it myself. I have to treat this all like it's me and me making stuff in my room, in my living room. But basically, no, I never really pursued a deal. I was just I just wanted people to hear it, and I was just looking for props from people who I also respected, Yeah, I mean, I'd played a few shows in these days. I definitely wasn't performing these songs often. I wasn't performing often, I had a day job, and I would do open mics here and there. I did shows at places where you could write your name on a piece of paper and you just play when it's your time slot, and you're playing to essentially an empty room except for the dudes you brought, but it was those years where I guess over the course of those years is when I started to get invited to things and started to get noticed for my first actual record deal, and that was sort of when shows started. These days I don't think I play any of these songs regularly. Basically, like, I went on Night Train. Bob, like Stretch and Bob were done by then, and that was kind of what I had grown up on. So my chance to get on the show was sort of over, and Night Train took over. My man Apex and all those dudes, Voss, and I got up on there, rhymed. I think that was on Earthworms, and yeah, I don't know, local shit. I remember being on a little local shit, but you know, I was also just scared. I was mad scared at this point. I didn't wanna. I was like learning to do it in front of people. You know, it's that's sort of what I struggled with. We had a few bars we would go to that, you know, the DJ would open the mic up for an hour every night, whatever. You know, we would rhyme, we would freestyle. Yeah, I don't know. People take notice eventually. Yeah, the internet was becoming a thing. It was the first time we had like online stores, which were, you know, you could basically go on and see and hear artists that you would never know, because all I heard was stuff from where I lived, and so you could hear stuff from every scene in the U.S. and beyond, and we took advantage of it to the best of our ability at the time, but all that really meant was like fielding the occasional email from somebody who found Tony's email address and wanted to buy a CDR. Wanted to buy a CDR with a sticker on it. A lot of the Earthworm stuff had been kind of traded around on tapes, and this was sort of my little second round. And I guess this is what ultimately led to me getting a record deal. So, in that sense, yeah, I felt a buzz, but at the time, you know, what that meant in those days was that we moved a couple thousand CDs by ourselves. And even though the internet did exist, it wasn't what it was now. And you couldn't just Google me and see the reaction. You know, it trickled in. So the buzz was a different thing. You know, it was. I had my head down for a lot of this, and I would go on. I still had a job, and I would go on to do another full album before I even tried to stop working. I guess this music, the stuff that I had done up to this point, got the attention of Robert Curcio at Mush. And yeah, signed me for one record. This would be like the last one where I was like making the covers at Kinko's, and like I designed them the wrong size, so they're all fucked up, and I was kind of cutting them out myself and all that. It was hard to see if this had any effect beyond, you know, my neighborhood or where we were hanging out, because I just didn't know. I wasn't traveling. I was still just working, and I had no intention or no belief that I would ever be a full-time, professional rapper at any point. I spy a toddler with her bubbles and her dipstick. Was that Lucy from No Regrets? It's crazy reading this question and this quote, I spy a toddler with her bubbles and her dipstick. Yeah, I have no memory of this. I can't answer your question. I don't know that I ever did that much, like have songs, aside from those first Tugboat, those first 3 Tugboat songs, I never really like connected a theme from a previous record or had a character from one record show up 2 records later. I know a lot of people can draw that stuff from my records, and that's great. I did, but it was all not intentional. Yeah, it was all just New York underground at the time. It was everything Stretch and Bob was playing. We were in it. It was the the Juggernauts, Company Flow, Saphir, Organized Confusion, Godfather Don, MF Doom. It was just kind of, a lot was happening that time in New York. It just seemed like stuff was coming out constantly. Saya and Yeshua the Poe D. There was so much fresh stuff coming out at the time. For people interested in rhyming, those years were huge.